The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. This is one of the Gospels that actually doesn't need a homily. So if we really listen to it carefully, this will be the real meditation of today. Jesus said to his disciples, "To you who hear, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. To the person who strikes you on one cheek, offer the other one as well. And from the person who takes your cloak, do not withhold even your tunic. Give to everyone who asks of you, and from the one who takes from you, from what is yours, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. For if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do the same. If you lend money to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners and get back the same amount. But rather, love your enemies and do good to them, and lend expecting nothing back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High. For He Himself is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as also your Father is merciful. Stop judging, and you will not be judged. Stop condemning, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and gifts will be given to you. A good measure, packed together, shaken down and overflowing, will be poured into your lap. For the measure with which you measure will in return be measured on to you." The Gospel of the Lord. So the homily was already done. You listened to it, right? And I will only add like a key of interpretation that we could use to see what theology there is behind this gospel. When I say what theology there is behind this gospel, when we say this word theology, it's something that tells us something about God. This is theology. So what theology there is behind this gospel? I will start from what we read, from the final sentence. A good measure, packed together, shaken down, and overflowing, will be poured into your lap. So what is this packed measure, this good measure? What is it? There is a moment at the presentation of the gifts. You will see You will see the priest doing this. He will prepare the chalice, and we will have wine and water. So you will see that the priest will pour much wine, but only one drop of water. And he will pronounce these words, which are meant to be pronounced quietly. I will tell them for you. By the mystery of this water and wine, may we come to share in the divinity of Christ, who humbled himself to share in our humanity. So, the wine is the divinity of Christ, and humanity is water, and together they are in Jesus, because Jesus is true God and true man. But his humanity is like a drop of water in this full measure of divinity. So, what is Luke chapter 6 telling us? That if you observe the gospel by loving your enemy, by doing all those very difficult things, exactly those ones that we don't want to do every day, because this is the truth. We don't agree on this. Don't come here and tell me that you do these things, because you don't. And why do I know? Because I don't do the same. It's the same for me. It's so difficult to love those one you slapped on your face. You will kill somebody who offended you. Imagine if they slapped on your face. So let us be true and frank. But in this gospel, Jesus is saying, if you ever try to do that, in loving your enemy, in forgiving who offended you, you know what will happen? That the divinity of God will be that full measure that will be poured on you, like that wine that is overwhelming the little drop of water that is our humanity. This is the mystery of incarnation. Why is this happening? Why this promise from Jesus? Because this is what God does all the time. With the incarnation, what did God do to us? He saw this humanity. We've been praying this morning in the Lord's. For 40 years I saw that generation. These people go astray. They are stubborn. They will not follow my way. And what God does with this generation, he embraced that generation. This is the mystery of incarnation. So when you follow this gospel, what you are doing is doing the same thing that God did with the incarnation. You are deciding to embrace your brother no matter what, because God embraced this humanity no matter what. You do that experience, of course, every day, above all if you got married. Yes, you got in love, you embrace that love, and then eventually you discover that there are limits. And what? And still, you need to embrace those limits. You need to love that person. And this is also an image of the incarnation, and this is also an image of the love of God that loves you no matter what. So, yesterday we said a Christian is a prophecy of the new world. So, with his way of doing, is doing something that is telling us what will happen in the kingdom of God. So today we are called to do this, because this is what God is ruling to be happen in his kingdom. It is difficult, of course, but we cannot say that at least we don't want to try it. And it is really surprising that sometimes even us who receive Jesus every day, it's so hard to understand, at least. It's hard for me to explain sometimes to people that if you want to be in communion with Jesus, you need to be in communion with all your brothers. Otherwise, that communion will not be really meaningful. It will be a partial communion. Because to be in communion with Jesus, it means that at least the door of your heart should be open. Of course, you cannot be at peace with everybody. There will be always some issue. There will be always somebody hating you, of course. And Jesus knows that, and he's saying that. But you, how about you? What do you do with your brother? What do you do with your sister? Okay, so let us put ourselves in front of this gospel honestly, and not with the usual hypocrisy that we have, yes, and that Jesus is pointing out today, just putting his finger on our wound. And if it pains, if it is painful, it means that we are getting healed.